Welcome to Big Fights Fan. We've got a great episode today. I managed to get Mark Godbeer, who is a bit of a local hometown hero to us. He is from the southwest of England. He has fought in the UFC, Bellator. He was the BAMA champion. He was the Valor champion, the BKB champion. And he's fought all over the world. I was really looking forward, first, to getting him on the show, and secondly, just to have a nice in-depth chat with him. I met him a couple of years ago when he took time out. He's currently signed with the UFC, and he took time out to come along to a boxing event that I had organised. An absolutely top guy, and I really enjoyed the chat. It's really good points, and from a fighter's perspective, if you are a young up-and-coming fighter from the UK, Mark he's been there and done it. He's been on the big stage, he's been on the small stage, and without further ado, I think we'll just jump straight in to the interview. Cool. Okay, so Mark, welcome to Big Fights Fan.
How you doing,
man? So, thanks for coming on the show. I've been trying to get you on for a while, being a fairly local guy to where I am. We've followed your career here ever since the start, and it's nice to finally meet people that we followed for a long time.
Yeah, there's been some ups and downs, mine, hasn't there?
Yeah, there has, but that's what makes it exciting, and it's good to see people, either come back or go through a little bit of hardship. And then reach the big stage again. Yeah, it's nice to see.
Yeah.
So, Mark, starting at the beginning, what made you want to compete? And I'm talking right back at the start when you decided, because you're a fairly late starter in MMA.
Yeah. So like I'm at the point now in my career, if I'm honest with you, where when people ask me these questions, I always used to direct from the truth a bit, because obviously I wanted to get places, but now I've sort of been there, done it. I can open up a bit more about it. So basically, I didn't walk into a gym until I was 25 years old. Never walked into a gym. Before that, I was just a pisshead, mate. I was in the pub all the time, drinking, flat out, doing other things as well. I grew up in the 90s, mate, so everyone knows what the 90s eras was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's doing all of that, you know what I mean? So and I think what it was on my 25th birthday. And on my 25th birthday, I was sat in my local pub, the Black Horse, and it might have been a Saturday. Yeah, it was a Saturday, and UFC was screening on the TV. So I was watching the UFC, and I was an avid UFC fan. I was massive.
Yeah.
I'm going back to Chuck Liddell, Forrest Griffin, Tito Ortiz days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the early days of the UFC when it really started expanding. The Stephan Bonner, Forrest Griffin days, sort of thing. And I was watching on TV, and I looked up at the TV, and then I said, "I'm going to fucking do that." And my mates literally looked at me, and I went, "I'm going to do that." And literally, they laughed at me. They laughed. Yeah, they literally laughed at me. And I said, "What are you laughing at?" And one of my friends, Sean, he looked at me and he said, he's an ex-boxer, ex-amateur boxer. And he said, "You won't do that." I said, "Why not?" He said, "You ain't got dedication." I said, "Fucking watch me then." And that was it. That was enough. And then literally 4 months later, I had my first fight. From that day onwards, from my 25th birthday, I literally went to the gym every single day for 4 months. Just got enough skills behind me to have my first semi-pro fight back then. It was, and then that was my first semi-pro fight. Yeah.
Was that in a local scene? Was it?
Yeah, it was in Bridgewater. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Cool.
Bridgewater, big marquee on the football field, Bridgewater Town Football Club. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
So did you train any martial arts as a kid?
No.
Nothing.
And then within 2 years, I was ranked top 10 in the UK. Nice. Never walked into a gym before I was 25 years old.
That's you do hear weird stories or sort of inspiring stories like that fairly often. Yeah, well, not very often. actually, because it's so different now that, you know, you've got YouTube videos kicking up of, you know, 4-year-old kids already training lightning hand speed and, you know, complete. So it's almost a throwback to the throwback days that you were just talking about, you know, eventually.
Well, do you know what? The thing is, like, I was brought in for many of my first fights. So I only done one semi-pro fight as well, because back then you didn't have unified amateur in the UK. So anyone that knows unified amateur is basically, you can still, it's basically the same rules as pro, except you can't knee in the head, I believe, and it's bigger gloves. So they're more gloves. So unified amateur, you didn't have that back in the day. So with the unified amateur now, you can ground and pound. You're allowed to punch him in the head. With the semi-pro rules back then, because it was only semi-pro pro, once you took him to the floor, you couldn't punch him in the head. So the first fight I had was against a wrestler. He kept taking me to the floor. I kept reversing him, and then I just had to like beat up his body. And like, oh mate, it pissed me off, if I'm honest. So I went straight into a pro fight. And the thing is, like, it was literally like from my first fight right up to now, I've always fought the best guys. So originally what happened was, when you first starting out your career and that, people go through all your like Sherdog or MMA Universe, it was back then, and they sort of handpick your opponents to build up these new prospects and that, you know, well, centre box, all that. Except for all these people kept handpicking me as a stepping stone. So all of these big up and coming prospects was coming through, and they kept handpicking me, and then. But I'd end up fucking smashing them and beating them. And then this is serious, honestly, like, you know, I'm not being big-headed, I'm being truthful. And then I got to, this was about 2 years down the line. I was just, you know, randomly, I come across my name in the rankings. I looked at the rankings and I was like, number 8 in the UK, like, you know what I mean? And then I said to my coach, I said, do you realise I'm ranked top 10 in the UK? I didn't even fucking know what the rankings were back then. And then it just, my career just sort of kicked off from there. Do you know what I mean? I've always been known as a bit of a prize fighter, really. I'll fight, you know, I've never turned down a fight. I'll fight any guy. It don't bother me. My attitude is, I get paid to fight. So why am I going to turn down a fight and say I'm not ready? Like, you know what I mean? I get paid for it.
Exactly that. Exactly that. The you know, I remember seeing Bama, and I watched you win a title bout in Bama, you know, back in the day. How did that feel? Almost like coming the full circle, because at the time, you know, Bama was, you know, the biggest organisation in the UK.
In Europe, biggest in Europe.
Yeah.
So and I won their world title. And the guy who I got, Paul Taylor, if anyone knew him back in the day, he was a fucking beast. He was coming off 8 first-round KOs. So like, I really had to train. And like I said, I worked along with Arthur Meek, with my local trainer. I had to work lots of movement, head movement, getting in and out, distance control, because I knew if I stayed in the pocket with that guy, he would just took my head off, you know. But that was a very disciplined, hard work camp, and the game plan went absolutely cool. And obviously that was the first big stepping stone to anything, really. And then it was just surreal. I'm not gonna lie, it was surreal. It was fucking brilliant. Yeah.
So it's literally, that would have been the dream, you know, starting at 25 years old, winning a championship of some sort. I can't imagine.
About 4 years into my career, about 4 years of training, I become a world champion.
That's great. So after that,
I try and stay really humble with it. But like, obviously, but when I do podcasts and that, it's like, that's when even I sit sometimes, I'm like, fucking hell, and look, I can achieve a bit, like, you know. But it's hard, isn't it? I don't like to sit in a pub and brag about it, stuff like that, because that's not my character. You know?
I mean, it is a genuine, you know, high level achievement, though. You know, and you do get, and I know this happens a lot with fighters. You get people almost downplay their achievements, mainly because they just don't understand the fight game, and they don't understand the discipline, the time away from family, time away from work, all of those things have to fall in place.
The battered body, everyone thinks we're healthy. We're fucking like walking. We're like walking destructions.
Yeah. And talking about that, you've announced retirement a few times because of injuries. How are you now?
I'm good now, mate. Yeah. Listen, the way I see it is, I'm an old car. You know what I mean? As long as I put the right oil and fuel in it keep going. You know? So and that's the thing. So like, I'm 38 coming up this year. And it's not old, but in the fight game, I am old. You know what I mean? I'm now classed as the veteran. I walk into the gym now, and I'm the old guy. You know what I mean? So I'm at that point in my career. I'm the old guy, and I got all these young whippersnappers all coming up through, and they're like, and it's not, especially like when I'm over in Thailand and stuff training. Like, I get recognised by them on, and I've been watching your fight when I was a kid, and I'm like, am I that? You know? Got these like 21-year-olds now coming through now, and it's like, but it is a sense of achievement. Yeah.
I mean, speaking of achievements as well, you made it. You made it to the top. You made it to the UFC, which and this is any fighter or any mixed martial artist. That is the epitome of mixed martial arts, and you made it there. What was that like? How did it happen?
So just literally, it was after I first started. It was, I believe it was what? So where do we go? 2009 to 2016, 7, 8. Yeah, it was about 8 or 9 years of literally hard work graft. I literally spent every single day, 2 times a day in the gym for 8, 9 years. And that was my main goal. And I remember it to a T. It was that bet in the pub on my 25th birthday. Someone bet me I wouldn't get the UFC. And I was like, watch me. So like, and when I got there, it was fucking surreal. It was surreal. But then when I got there, I know it sounds funny, but like when I got there, I went flat. I went very flat when I got to the UFC. And I think a lot of it was, it's hard to say because, like, you know, if I ever had a chance, I'd probably go back. But a lot of it I couldn't deal with at the time was the dictatorship of it. Okay. I just spent the last sort of like, you know, nigh on 10 years getting to the UFC. Once I got there, like I spent the last 10 years doing something to stop me from being swallowed up by the system telling me how I should live, so I decided to do something for myself, dedicated all my time into it to prove to everyone that I could basically live a life off my own terms, not how the government fucking says I have to. You know what I mean? Getting up at 6 o'clock every morning, working on the building site. Like, don't get me wrong, I've done that. I do that. Still do it now. But like at the time, I wanted more. I wanted to achieve more. I wanted to prove that I could do more. But then when I got to the UFC, it was like everything that I worked for, i.e., the freedom of doing what I loved and getting paid for it as a full-time profession. I felt like it was just all stripped away from me, like, you know, and like because I was constantly monitored. Don't get me wrong, I was tested 13 times for steroid stuff, always negative. So it wasn't anything that I was hiding or anything like that. It was just it was literally the intrusiveness of it. I'd be at home. This was the UFC plan, the USADA plan, for example. Every 12 weeks, I have to log on to the computer and I have to tell them exactly where I'm where I'm waking up in the morning. This is every day for 12 weeks. Tell them where I'm waking up, what time I'm training, what time I finish training, where I'm sleeping, everything. Like for 12 weeks, I had to fill out every 12 weeks, or every quarter, I had to fill out database. Once I filled that out, if I ever diverted off of that, I had like a USADA app on my phone. I had to go onto my app, tell them what I'm going to. So if I decided I want to take my kids out for the day, I had to tell the UFC where I was taking my kids and shit. Right. And it just done my head in. And I think the last time this is serious as well, the last time was like, I was just about to go out for the day to take my kids to the beach. Because I get my kids on the weekend, you know. I was just about to take my kids to the beach. And literally fucking this guy gets out of his car and he's like shaking like a leaf. And he's like, "Are you Mark Godbeer?" I'm like, "Who are you?" You know what I mean? I thought it was bailiff for saying. You know what I mean? "Who are you?" And he's like, "Are you Mark?" I said, "Who are you?" And he went, "I'm your shadow." I was like, "Why didn't you fucking say that?" You know what I mean? So I got all the kids in the car. All my kids,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
I got like, you know, at the time I had 3 girls. And like, so they're all screaming their head off, "I want to go to the beach." And I had to get them all out of the car. This USADA bloke had to wait. He's waiting in my house. Like, you can't refuse it. If I refuse it, I'll get a massive fine. Like,
Yeah.
bankruptcy. So he's sat in my house, and I'm like, my kids are screaming, "Come on, Dad, we want to go." And I've had to wait for about an hour and a half so I can piss again. You know what I mean? He literally followed, my kids are in the front room. This guy follows me into the fucking bathroom. He's looking over my shoulder at my cock whilst I'm pissing into a fucking cup. And then, honestly, there's this gospel truth. He's shitting himself that much. When he's tipping the vials of piss, he's spilling it all over my fucking side. I said, "Mate, why are you shaking?" He said, "Look, I'm not going to lie to you." He said, "You're the first fighter I've done." I'm like, "Do you think we're all like brutes or something?" Like, I said, "Listen, relax." I literally had to say to him, "Relax. We're not going to fucking stove your head in or anything like that."
Stop spilling piss all over my house. Just chill out.
Honestly, it's true as my kids' life. This is a fucking true story. And do you know what? After that, that was about the 13th time. You know what I mean? I had them banging on my door at 6 in the fucking morning. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this was literally straight after one fight. Obviously, I let my hair down. I've been out on piss all night because, like, and then the next thing you know, at 6 I got you inside a bang on my door. And this was, when this happened, it was just the last time for me. I was like, "Do you know what? It ain't about the drug test and that. I understand we have to have a level playing field and stuff, but when does it stop? Like, this is fucking intrusive now." Do you know what I mean? Like, and I was just, I said, I rang up my manager. I was 2-2 in the UFC. I didn't get cut. I didn't get cut from the UFC.
No.
But I rang my manager out and I was like, "Listen," at the time it was Gokhan. I said, "I want out." He said, "What are you on about, Mark?" I said, "I want out the UFC." He said, "Think about this. You've worked your whole life for this." And I said, "I want out of the UFC. Get me out." And the UFC released me when I asked for my release. So, but since then, since leaving, this is the thing as well. Life in the fight world isn't always about the UFC. There's promotions out there now that is paid just as well. Like, and I don't get tied into these fucking contracts that I can't get out of. I can travel the world. So now I become more of a prize fighter. I travel all around the globe now, just fighting and doing what I love and like being me again, you know?
Yeah.
That,
I mean,
I
suppose with the whole USADA thing, I totally get it with the whole level playing field. I think, and if you're earning, if you're one of the high earners, if you like, of the UFC, then you don't mind as much having that intrusiveness. But I think a lot of people think that once someone makes it to the UFC, they become millionaires, and it's just
what people don't understand. It's like sometimes, like when I first started the UFC, I was on 10 and 10, so 10 grand for competing. No, 12 and 12, 12 grand for competing, 12 grand for winning. So you get 24 grand if I win. Like, and it seems like a lot of money to most people.
Yeah.
Like when you're fighting like twice or 3 times a year, say overall that's 60 odd grand. No, because your money went up. Sorry, but like just say like for that one fight, if like I get $12,000, works out what, about 9,000 English?
Yeah.
So all for that. But what they seem to forget that I've had to go to Thailand to do a camp, shut myself away for fucking 8 weeks. I've had to live in Thailand. I had to pay for all my training, my coaches, pay for everything in Thailand. Then once I paid for my training, I've still got my life back here, still got my kids and that back here. So I have to pay for my house back here. I have to pay for like all of that. And then, and it was like, and so if I lost, so say if I lost the fight and I'd end up with say like $12,000 instead of 24, like a big chunk of that was already gone through what I've spent preparing for that fight. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
100%. At the beginning days of the UFC, it worked out like an average job, really. Like, but if you worked out what you was earning over the year, it was like just like an average. So you were living still like you know, you want a millionaire, but people used to think you was, you know. But like, you know, and like I said, as your career went on and the more wins you got in the UFC, etc., your money did bump up. So like, you know, I'm saying UFC pays shit or whatever. And this is like the starting money isn't very great, you know. Once you get up there, like towards, I won't say what I was on, but towards my, you know, my fifth fight with the UFC, I was scheduled for a lot more than that, a lot more. Yeah. So that was, but that's what I mean. It sort of took 5 fights to sort of get up to that money where I could sort of live a little bit like a rock star after I finished my fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, exactly that. Yeah, people. Yeah. I have this, you know, I have this not argument, but I have this this thing where I tell people, you just don't see how important things like sponsors are. How important a supportive family is, how important it is that you can actually take time away from, you know, a lot of people have jobs and they need their jobs in order to support their lifestyles and their families before they make that big money. Yeah, that's it. That's why the sponsors are so important. Yeah, so like that's the thing people don't get, like the sponsorships, like you know, once you get to the UFC, it's like it's big time. It's TV deals, big TV deals. There's millions of people watching all over the world. So sponsors want to pay you to wear their logos on the thing. And 9 times out of 10, the sponsorships like generate more money than your actual fight person at the beginning stage and stuff. So these people rely on, you know, they rely on big sponsorship deals, TV deals, you know. Yeah. But then obviously when the Reebok deal come in, it was like, I think that for the first 4 or 5 fights was like $2,500. Yeah. You know, like it's crazy, really. You think I had when I was fighting for my last fight with BKFC, unfortunately I got ill, but you know, I generated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times as much as that, but like just off of that, you know what I mean? Just on sponsorships. Yeah, and I couldn't. Obviously, I couldn't fight because obviously I got ill, but obviously those sponsors carry through to the next fight. But it just goes to show, for example. So that was like BKFC. So like when you're in the UFC, imagine if they didn't have that Reebok deal. And the thing is, so like big American companies now, they love throwing money at you for like wearing their logos, and they took that all away with the Reebok deal. It just become so, I don't know, what's one word? Generic. It's like you become like a part of the system, a part of the machine. Like you were on the team rather than you were. Like you are part of a team rather. Like then they took away I think they took away individual personalities as well. You know what I mean? Like all of these, remember, like the sponsors like Metal Militia and Tap Out. And stuff like that. Sort of like these, you know, these sponsors logos and that sort of fitted with people's personalities and stuff. And you also had the, you know, guys had the opportunity if they were, you know, if they were marketable or they had, you know, connections. It didn't matter that they were in their first few fights because they had a big fan base and therefore sponsors wanted to sponsor them. And you could often get, you know, lower level fighters earning bank on their sponsorships, you know, and it didn't matter that they were on the prelims and on the sort of new contracts. Definitely. So after the UFC, you announced, you know, a sort of brief retirement, and then you come back and managed to travel the world in, you know, some other different organisations, before switching over to Bare Knuckle. What made that decision? So I was offered a fight. You know, I was at the point where I was done with fighting. Like I said, I went flat. After the UFC, I went very flat. I just didn't. My heart of drive wasn't in it anymore. I don't know why. It was just, but that's just what happens. You know, after 10 years of training, fucking twice a day, every day, I just had enough. But then I was offered a contract with BKBTM, which is like pretty much probably one of the biggest bare knuckle boxing companies in the world, but the British version. And I was offered straight in, like obviously because of my resume and stuff. I was offered a title fight straight away against one of their top heavyweights.
Um, the money wasn't great.
Mickey Parker, was it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the money wasn't great, but it was like a new adventure.
Yeah.
And I was, yeah, why not? I fancy a bit of this. This is more me. You know what I mean? No takedowns, no wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to stand and fucking bang with me now. So I took the fight. Tough as old boots, my Mickey Parker. Tough as fucking nails. Went all 5 rounds of him.
Yeah.
Obviously, I won the fight on unanimous decision. And I ended up becoming the British BKB TM champion. And that was it. Then it just went on from there. And now, obviously, with Bare Knuckle now, Bare Knuckle is like the new age blood sport, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
Bare Knuckle now, it's like UFC was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like a new thing now. And it's just expanding and getting bigger. And there's a big opportunity like for bare knuckle boxers. So yeah,
we watched me and some friends watched your Valor tournament win. We were gutted that there wasn't more after that. Because that was just the whole production, the setup. It was great. We thought it was great, the whole thing.
Yeah. Hopefully Valor get back on their feet. They were a great show. Not just the show itself, but the people behind the scenes were fucking good guys. They looked after the fight. It was almost like it was old school fight. It was an old school promotion run by fighters for the fighters, sort of thing. Yeah. So it really worked out. I like Valor, yeah. But obviously I'm signed with BKFC now, so I'm just waiting. So this Monday, I'm just waiting, and then I should find out when I'm fighting and who my opponent is. So,
you got anyone you want?
Yeah, but after there's a guy, Josh Burns. He wants it. I want it. I think it's a good fight, and I also think it's the #1 title eliminator. So the winner of that fight is directly in line for the next shot of the title.
Yeah.
So it's got to be Josh Burns, isn't it? Yeah, so
it makes sense.
Josh wants the best fight, so that's I don't want to take the long. But I'm like I said, I'm coming up 38 now. I don't want to go taking the long route to get into the fucking belt. I want to fight the best straight away, and then earn my spot off the back of that.
I suppose being a champion from BKB, from Valor, fighting in the UFC, having those type of things on your resume can only help get the bigger fights for you over at BKFC.
Yeah, it's definitely worked in my favour now. Getting the bigger fights. Obviously, people know who I am and stuff. So my head's a lot better now. I had a bit of I think everyone has, hasn't they? This last 12 months has been hard on everyone. I've had so many fights cancelled, so much for this. Obviously, I've got corona as well, for those that didn't know. It is real. I ended up with double ammonia on my lungs. Fucking, that was another thing that done my head in. Like, I spent 8 weeks away, quarantined in Dubai for 14 days, getting to the United States, training for 6 weeks. 2 weeks before I fought, I got fucking corona and ended up in the hospital with double ammonia on my lungs. So, all these adds to the journey. At the time, you don't see it, but it's all a story to tell. But like I said, I've got another shot now. They're going to get me back over there. So, I think that's the last. This is the last go in my the last goal I've in my fight career. I think this is obviously I'm going to carry on fighting it once I win the title and that, for a few fights now. But it is the end. This is where I'm going to leave it. I think. Bare Knuckle. Yeah. So and obviously Joey Beltran at the moment, he's the title holder for BKFC. He also owns one of the it is the oldest, most prestigious belt in boxing history, which is, and legitimately the oldest belt in boxing, which is called the Diamond Police Gazette Belt. And for all the boxing fans out there, it's one of the first ever belts before even gloved boxing was a thing. It was bare knuckle boxing, and it was last owned before Joey got it, and before these guys at BKFC got it. It was owned by John L. Sullivan. So we do your history and find out who he is, an American bare knuckle boxer from back in the day. And obviously, what happened then. He was the last guy to own it, and then all of a sudden, bare knuckle boxing was outlawed. And I believe that's when the Queensbury rules and stuff come in, and they started wearing gloves and that. So this belt went into in a place called Belfast in New York. It's run by Scott Burt.
Yeah.
It's put into the John L. Sullivan Museum, which is actually his old training barn. He's still got his old ring in there, and this belt's been there for since 1886 or something like. You have to forgive me on the correct. But this belt's been there since then, and then all of a sudden, with now bare knuckle boxing being legalized and sanctioned and commissioned, and it's been brought back to life. This belt has now been brought from the museum and is actually been brought back into the circuit. So it is, so to speak, the most oldest legitimate boxing belt in history. So that's my goal now. I want to win that. There's so if you win that belt, there's this big stone plaque they've got at John L. Sullivan Museum in Belfast, New York, and all the champions that's held this belt, their name gets carved in stone. So I was just thinking, imagine that, you know what I mean? I win that belt, my name gets carved in that stone. And my grandkids, years down the line, they go to Belfast, New York to see their granddad's name. And just little things like that now, you know. It's more of a legacy for me now than the cash, the money. So
yeah, I suppose it's not just winning a bout, you're winning a little piece of history. Yeah, if you can get your hands on that. I've seen Scott. He runs like little training camps up there. I've seen. The guys are blacksmithing all day, fighting all day as well. It's quite a cool little setup he's got up there.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. He seems like, I haven't met him in person. I can't wait to meet him in person, but he seems like a really good lad, Scott. Yeah.
So speaking of legacy, you've got some outside of fighting. You've got your new bare knuckle ring, sort of sub promotion set up. How's that working out?
So, it's really beginning to kick off now. Obviously, so it's actually called Spartan Wars Ringed BKB. So Spartan Wars is probably, they're looking at being probably the biggest bare knuckle boxing company in the UK now. But they run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches, I think. Yep. 4 of the branches are old school. Hay bales, it's like they've kept it traditional bare knuckle boxing in here, and I really respect that they've kept it traditional. But then I spoke with Christian from he's the founder of Spartan. I spoke to him and I was like, listen, if you think about it, there's only one major ring company in the UK.
Yeah.
BKBTM. There's no competition. There's nowhere for the fighters to go. Let's do a Spartan Wars ringed BKB company, ringed bare knuckle boxing company. Let's give these fighters options. Let's give them other platforms to go to. Let the competition's healthy. But I think if you want this sport to grow, let's grow this sport. If you keep it all in one house and let people dictate it, then the sport isn't going to grow. So that was my goal. To obviously, like I said, I've only probably got a couple of years fighting left now, so I want to look at things for after I finish fighting. Also, as well, I'm contracted with BKFC and that. We're not going to be competing with BKFC and stuff like that because one I fight for them, so my loyalties. My loyalties are there, but 2, they're in America. They're a big company in America. So I spoke to Christian and I said, imagine if we could build up a company, a ring bare knuckle boxing company in the UK, and coincide with BKFC, the likes of David Feldman and that. So we're bringing all these fighters on, and these fighters are fucking good fighters and that. And then all of a sudden you get people like David Feldman comes in and said, look, we want to use these guys. Let's coincide. And then David Feldman bring these guys to the American guys to the UK and then all work together, I got a very good business head on me, so I see a plan. And I see an opening for us all. And there's so many people that I say so many, there's certain companies company in the UK that they failed to recognise that coinciding with people was actually better in the long run.
Yeah.
They try and shut everyone out. They try and shut them down. So that's my goal. My goal is to be a fight company, a fight promotion for the fighters rather than fucking my own ego, you know?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. And like I said, hopefully we get to work alongside BKFC in the future. That'll be my main goal as well, you know? Working alongside a company like BKFC, straight away that's going to boost our company in the UK. That's going to give it credibility across the board.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know David Feldman's probably up for getting on board as well and stuff. You know, David seems like a guy that's got a very good business head. He sees expansion. He just got the guy. You got to take your hat off to him. What he's done with BKFC over the last couple of years has been absolutely phenomenal. So you've got to take your hat off to him.
Yeah, I think watching the production level over the last couple of years and the fighters that have been signed, and then every event is just better than the last one in production value, fighter value, fan value. It's just, it's been like you said, it's been really good to see. He's made some real good marquee signings recently. And it just looks so professional now. Like you mentioned earlier, it's like the early days of the UFC. You know, we could potentially see another almost a rebirth and a new generation of.
And it's the good thing as well is it gives, like, a lot of the older fighters, they don't want to retire, but a lot of them, they have to retire from MMA because they can't deal. Like, the body can no longer deal with, like, the wrestling and the BJJ and that. But that's where, what a lot of people don't understand is the wrestling and the BJJ and that's where all your major injuries come from. Your knees go, you have to have knee surgery, hip surgery, stuff like that. Yeah. With the bare knuckle boxing, you can still be very competitive. You train just as hard, but it isn't so hard on your body to train it. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like, you haven't got so much wear on your body. So it gives you, at the end of your career, it gives you that prolonged extra couple of years. You know, you might lose, your looks ain't going to stay there, but you know, it's like, so that, I think that's why you see a lot of, not so much older, but like a lot of veterans sort of going over to bare knuckle because they've got something to live for again. They can carry on without the risk of fucking popping their knees out or without the risk of popping their hips out through the wrestling side of MMA, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. The I suppose it also gives them an avenue because the competitive spirit just doesn't just end in fighters. They want to compete, and like you said, their bodies just are not the same as they get up towards. Seems to be 40 is the magic number. They get up towards 40, unless you're some kind of absolute freak athlete. Like people like
I thought 50, wasn't
he? With the whole Spartan Wars Ring BKB, when are you planning for your first event? With the I get COVID may play hamper to that.
So if everything goes to plan, i.e., the 4-stage plan that what's his name? Our Prime Minister? Thingy-majig.
Bojo.
Lovely bloke. If everything goes to plan with him, they're saying basically with the 4-stage plan, they got kids go back to school in March, April, certain amount of people in beer gardens, May up to 30 people, and then June they said if everything goes to plan, that all restrictions will be lifted. Correct me if I'm wrong, all right? So we've set our date for the 31st of July. COVID restriction, depending, So we're looking at having our first show on the 31st of July. So will
that be local?
Yeah, it'd be in Bridgewater. Yeah.
All right, cool.
The first one would be my local town of Bridgewater, and then see how that goes, and then we'll just grow it from there. See how everything pans out. So it should be pretty good.
I mean, it's nice to see. I know we've spoke at length now about you saying you're coming to the end of your fighting career. And it'd be real good to see you take the Spartan Wars ring, BKB, being a fighter as well. I do think that adds, it just adds that, you've been there, done it element, and it doesn't turn into what I see some promotions do, and it turns into a business, and they just not exploit the fighters, but it's cattle to make money. Whereas you've been there and done it yourself, and you can put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah, obviously, if it's the only thing I'm doing, stuff like that, I do need to earn a wage from it, because obviously that's going to be my income. Yeah. But at the same time, exactly that. I know what the fighters want. I know what they deserve, and I know what they need. So that's what we said. We wanted to set up a company that's run by fighters for the fighters.
Yeah.
Obviously, first couple of shows and stuff, we can't pay everyone, millions of bucks and stuff like that. But we are looking to build it up, to build the show, and the bigger the show gets, the more people will get compensated. So people want to, will sit there and grow with us. Then that everything else is going to grow with them as well, i.e. their fight purses, etc., etc. So like I said, we're in the early stages, but we've released, we've released what we're looking to pay and stuff like that, like package deals for fighters and stuff like that. And I think for a first fight show, we're being pretty generous, considering, and I'm just looking forward to seeing where it goes. Looking forward to seeing where this ends up. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward. I'll be there if it's on the 31st of July. I'm only in Bridgewater as well, so I'll definitely come along.
Bridgewater, well, are you?
Yeah, so I bought a house in Bridgewater a little while ago. Obviously, we've got some common friends like Wayne and stuff. And he's a good enough friend that he convinced me to move the family into Bridgewater a little while ago.
I'll tell you what, it's a good up. I'm not going off, but it's a good, compared to what it was years ago to now. It's a good up coming town now. It's like there's a lot of development going on. It's good. Anyway, we'll stay off that. We'll stay back for a private.
But no, yeah, you're right though. You are right. It is a big place, and it does seem to be. It seems there's loads of opportunities there. You're close to everything that you need to be, and there's just constant growth. From all markets. So it is good.
I think the fights will be good there as well, because look, we got 2 junctions to the motorways, and easy, and everything's easy to get to. We're quite, from London, we're only 2 hours drive down.
Yeah.
From Cornwall, we're only 2 hours drive down. So. We got from London to Cornwall, we got covered within a 2-hour radius. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's
you're right. Yeah, you're right. Definitely.
Catchment area, easy to get to, straight down the M5, both 2 junctions to get off on. So it's good. So
I think with you, it's a good team. Yourself and Christian, I think will provide a good knowledge base.
The first show, we're probably going to run it in, obviously, because it's going to be summer. We're looking at a big. I'm just in talks now with tent companies, so we're going to run it inside a tent. It's all going to be obviously a legal, above board.
Yeah.
We're going to be fully insured, full medical teams, full medical checkups. Everything's going to be fighter safety is paramount in my eyes. Yeah. Fighter safety is paramount, especially in a sport like this. So speaking of Christian as well, we're going to get full proper pay extra for proper doctors as well. So because it is bare knuckle, there is a high chance that you're going to get cut and stuff. Yeah. So what we want is for the fighters, rather than the fighters get sent from us and then having to sit in hospital for hours at a time, getting stitches and that done, we want people that's qualified on a medical team that can do the stitches on site and stuff, Yeah. So just little stuff like that, we're tuning in on and making it happen. So I'm looking for, and obviously I know, I'm going to say this publicly, I know there's going to be a lot of jealous people out there that's going to do everything they can to stop us from doing this promotion, i.e. once we locked in venues and stuff, they're going to be ringing venues. I know this for a fact because I know other people that's tried it, and there's been certain company that has rung up the ring up the venues, and you know they tell them stuff like, you know, there's 200 travelers turning up, they're all going to be fighting. There's legalized illegal brawls that's going to break out. There's, you know, it's a dog eat dog work.
Yeah.
And I'm fully aware of. I'm coming into a dog eat dog world where everyone in this competition is going to do everything they can to try and stop us. Hence why I've locked in a sort of a venue, and hence why we're doing it in sort of big marquees and tents and stuff for the first show, just to get it up and off the ground. So then we can prove to people, look, just say, for example, we've had 1,000 people at our show. We've had 1,000 people in a tent, and look, here you go. There's the videos. Look how this is run. This is a professional outfit. We've got security. We've got, you know, we've got medical team. We've got fighter safety as paramount. You know, we've got, you know, we've got the crowd under control. We've got everything you can think of that's going to go wrong. Everything's covered. Do you know what I mean? So we just want to first show up off the road, just so people, you know, I might even invite a couple of counsellors and stuff along. Like, so they can see, look, come down, have a look, this is what we're about. Once we get these on board, that's when the expansion starts, you know. So but like I said, it's still early days now, and obviously the same with the UFC. When that first started, it was outlawed in many states and stuff like that. So it's down to us, the sort of, you know, the guys that are at the beginning of this sport. It's down to us to prove to everyone that this is a competitive sport. It's not just like, you know, a bloody bloodbath brawl, you know. I want people to see the sportsmanship side that goes on behind this. So we shall see. Yeah,
I've been in your shoes where you are now, you know, with nothing on the level that you're doing, but taking, you know, in fact, where we first met actually, at a boxing event that I organised, and you know, that went from, you know, 150 people, and then before you knew it, in a couple of years, I was organising for, you know, 1,000 people plus VIPs plus, you know, 1,000 soldiers. Yeah, and that even
have 1,000 rugby teams under the one venue.
But yeah, you know, and that didn't take long to get to that stage, because people were invested and people wanted to see good fights. You know, admittedly, amateur boxing fights, and yours is slightly different, but the people want to see it.
Yeah, and also as well, like me and Christian, we both know that this is a long-term thing. We don't expect to come into this and start earning money straight off the back of it. We know we're going to have to invest a lot of money into it, and we will do. Like, you know, but we've got business plan, we've got business strategy. We've really thought about this. We've really, you know, we've really looked over every loophole. So, and we've both agreed, you know, for the first couple of shows, if we can sort of break even, then we're happy. You know, we're looking at the more down the line, the end product, so to speak. You know, so we shall see. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, honestly, I hope everything works out really well, and definitely I'll be there. If fingers crossed that the event goes ahead in the local area in Bridgewater, and yeah, I'll definitely come up. I'll have to hit you up for some tickets.
Yeah, come along, mate. Yeah.
Cool, Mark. Thank you for taking your time. I know you're busy. Training for your next fight, and you probably got your head melting.
I park my camper at the gym next week, so everyone I always say to everyone, I'm a product of my environment. You stick me in a pub full of drinkers, I will be the best drinker. Stick me in a gym of fighters, I will thrive to be the best fighter. So, like next week, I literally park my camper outside the gym, and that's me stationed at the gym. Oh God!
Are you using your normal gym? Are you to do your training? Are you up at Western or?
Western Warriors, Dean Lewis, my pro coach. Normally, I do, you know, I train with Dean all the time, and then normally the last, say, 6 weeks of my camp, like I say, I have to take myself out of my environment to become, you know, the full-time fighter. But obviously, with travel restrictions and stuff like that, it's a bit hard. So I spoke to Dean, and I'm just going to park my camper at the gym and do it that way. Yeah, switch off from the world. Yeah, I got my solar panel on my camper now, so I got my TV, so it's all good.
Yeah, you'll be good. I think, once you do that and you can dedicate all your time and effort to it, hopefully we'll get to see the best you, when you do finally step into the ring and make that long-awaited BKFC debut.
Yeah. I generally think the only person that can beat me in that BKFC ring is myself.
Yeah.
When I'm on my ball, when I'm training and I've got no distractions, no mental issues, I'm not afraid to, I'm not afraid to throw that out there. Everyone has their own demons.
Yeah.
When I've got no mental issues or I ain't got any like personal issues, i.e., my ex-wife or, just as an example or something, just personal life that does. If I switch myself off from all of that and I get my head into that training, I don't see one of those heavyweights at BKFC stopping me. I don't. So.
I mean, I've been in a lucky situation. I've seen you at your best doing bare knuckle, and Joey Beltran's a good fighter. There's some decent fighters. Sam Schumacher. You've got Burns on there, and they're good fighters. But the BKB seems to really be where you found a home that it was perfect for you. It was perfect for the exact style that you fight with. I hope that the fight with Burns, if it is Burns, goes well, and you get that shot at Joey Beltran.
Yes, mate. Thank you.
Welcome back. Well, I really enjoyed that interview. A lot longer than what we were anticipating it was going to be. Again, thank you to Mark for taking time out of his busy schedule to join us for what was, like I said, quite a lengthy interview. So many good points. The importance of sponsors to young up and coming fighters and established fighters. It allows them the security to be the best they can be, and that seems a bit of a throwaway blasé term, and yet we as fans expect fighters to perform. We say, well, they're a fighter. It's expected that they fight. It's expected that they put on a good performance. It's expected that they shouldn't ever gas out. What we don't see is that they're human beings who have to spend time away from their families. They spend time away from work potentially. If they're not earning enough money to not work, then they're working as well. They've got bills to pay. And, in a way, we dehumanize them a little bit by the demands that we put on as fans. And you know what, if you're an elite top paid athlete, then I don't know, maybe there's something to that, but I don't think so. I think sometimes we forget that everybody has their struggles, even fighters, that they're not invincible. And I love speaking to fighters about real life, not issues, but real life eventualities. And Mark is a great example of that. He knows that when it's time for him to switch on, he goes away either to a training camp somewhere else, or he sets himself up at the gym at Western Warriors there with Dean. And he knows now, that's probably taken him a long time to learn, that he knows that that's how he can become the best he can be. But yeah, don't discount the importance, us as fans, because the bigger fan base a fighter brings into a promotion, potentially the bigger deals they're going to get and the more sway they have. But also the sponsors being so important in order to allow a fighter to become the best he can be. Guys, I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying the whole podcast and YouTube show thing. Okay, Big Fights Fan has gone on strength to strength, and now I'm starting to have a little bit more reach, and I'm starting to reach people further afield as fans, but also I'm having people reach out to try and come on the show as well, and I'll keep on constantly trying to produce good shows for you guys, the fans. But on the counter to that, if there's anything you want to see on the show, or if you know a person that wants to even come on the show, if they're a fight fan as well, give them my details, let them reach out, and we'll get them on the show as a fan as well. And as I said, we want to grow the community. It's not just me sat here in the sort of little studio here. It's about the community of Big Fights fans. There's loads of us out there, millions of us out there, and hopefully I'm supplying you with everything you need when it comes to, I use the term journalism pretty loosely, okay, but giving a little insight, my own personal insights into a lot of the issues surrounding combat sports. But please message, phone, email. You can contact us in a massive plethora of ways. So please reach out, and I'll make the show even better for you. If you've got any ideas, get them in, and I'll try and implement them for the next show. Okay, looking forward. Next episode is I'm going to say family friends episode. It is an episode looking at the upcoming UFC event where we get to see 3 championships on the line. Fingers crossed to the MMA gods that we actually get all 3 fights, and I really want. The card is absolutely stacked. Okay, and there'll be an episode dropping probably tomorrow, to be honest. We're going to film it up, myself and the guest on the show, and yeah, keep tuning in, subscribe, like, share, but most of all just generate the traffic. I really appreciate it, and thanks very much.